A tiger at Carole Baskin's Big Cat Sanctuary chomped down on a volunteer today, nearly biting her arm off. The victim, Candy Kauser, was feeding this 3-year-old tiger named Kimba and fiddling with the lock when Kimba grabbed her arm and nearly tore it off at the shoulder. Baskin rose to notoriety on the hit Netflix docuseries Tiger King. She recently competed on Dancing with the Stars.
What's new, pussycat?
In a statement, she says the volunteer ignored a universal signal not to open a gate without the coordinator coming to assist. It is against our protocols for anyone to stick any part of their body into a cage with a cat in it.
Days after an Indian Army patrol came under attack and 2 soldiers inside this vehicle were shot, later dying in hospital, authorities are looking for those responsible. No group has claimed responsibility for the shooting on the outskirts of Srinagar in Indian-administered Kashmir. People here say they're living in fear. Special police and army soldiers have carried out raids in the past week, and those who live here say they've become victims to reprisal attacks.
On the day of the attack, the soldiers questioned us. We told them we didn't know anything. A day later, around 1:30 a.m., the soldiers raided our neighborhood. All men were taken out of their homes and lined up at a neighborhood square. We were beaten badly. We were separated into 3 groups. Soldiers took turns beating us. At least 5 soldiers beating a single person with iron rods, batons, whatever they could find. We were even pushed on the ground and beaten. We're civilians. Why would we know anything about the attackers? They were soldiers and they should know how to deal with civilians.
Families torn apart. Once again, the Rohingya aren't welcome after fleeing persecution in Myanmar to an overcrowded refugee camp in Bangladesh. Now thousands of families are gathering their meager belongings for yet another journey. Relatives say their families are being sent to Bhasan Char Island against their will. Bhasan Char is in the Bay of Bengal, 30 kilometers from the Bangladeshi coastline. The new camp spans 6.7 square kilometers and will house 100,000 refugees, mostly from Cox's Bazar. The silt island appeared 20 years ago and floods every monsoon season between June and September. Rights groups have voiced concern, both about the destination and the forced relocation.
Whipped wildfire has been wreaking havoc in California since 2 days now, forcing residents to flee houses and nearby vegetation was set ablaze on Thursday, and in order to avoid further damage, the Southern California Utilities has now cut off power to tens of thousands of homes. The blaze in Orange County's Silverado Canyon began late on Wednesday, induced by a house fire that quickly spread to tinder dry brush. It exploded in size throughout the night, and as the sun came up, an enormous plume of smoke was visible for miles. A blaze in San Diego County threatened about 200 homes, and officials said that hundreds were deployed to work on evacuation of residents in the area. 2 U.S. firefighters were injured while battling to douse the fire.
Let's get more details on this morning's explosion at the Engen oil refinery in Durban.
Well, the current situation is a lot of people are traumatized. A lot of children were affected. This was a major blast at 7 a.m. this morning. A lot of windows were shattered. Other folks have been rushed to hospital as well. But the fire was so huge. It's something that has happened in the past. But this one has taken a few years to happen again, and this is something that has been forthcoming. A lot of workers were rushed out of there this morning and ended up in hospital. We don't know the situation with them, but a number of ambulances, over 10 ambulances that had witnessed myself because I was on the scene, and they all were rushed to St. Augustine's Hospital. Yes, at this particular refinery, we've had over 30 explosions and fires since 1995. That we have well documented, and it's out in the public domain.
A
can confirm, though, that this is not being treated as a terror-related incident. The explosion happened in a silo that holds treated biosolids before it is recycled to land as an organic soil conditioner. I can reassure people living in the nearby area that there is not believed to be any ongoing public safety concerns following today's events.
Police are asking residents to stay out of the area as emergency personnel continue to work. Police also said a fifth person was injured, but the injuries are not believed to be life-threatening. Prime Minister Boris Johnson posted on Twitter expressing his condolences to the victims of the tragedy and their families.
The mother of a 7-week-old baby shaken to death by his gaming addict father says the killer deserves a life sentence. Joseph McDonald claims he was suffering anger problems when he became frustrated at his son during a video game. Court reporter Eliza Rugg.
Sam Duckmanton had just 53 days with her little boy Lucas.
Oh, good boy. And he was just perfect in every way possible.
The 7-week-old was shaken to death by his father, Benalla sawmill worker and PlayStation addict Joseph McDonald.
The noise of Lucas crying, because he was in the same lounge room, was interrupting his game. He couldn't concentrate on his game, so he broke.
The baby killer was today shielded by prison guards after pleading guilty to child homicide. In October last year, he shook Lucas so hard, knocking his head against the ground, the newborn let out a painful cry. McDonald placed his son back in his rocker and returned to his video game.
Moving on for now, German Chancellor Angela Merkel on Wednesday said that the government will be extending its virus restrictions till the 10th of January in order to contain the virus spread. The virus curbs include keeping the restaurants and hotels shut and limiting private gatherings to 5 people. The measures were earlier scheduled to expire on the 20th of December. While the daily rise in infection numbers started to decline, Germany reported its highest single-day death toll on Wednesday. More than 17,000 new cases were reported overnight and 487 deaths. Germany's head of vaccines the vaccine panel said that it will take over a year to vaccinate all of Germany's population. Germany is currently preparing vaccination centers across the country so it can start offering the shots as soon as a vaccine is approved in Europe.
A man ran for his life when an earthquake struck while he was sitting at his desk. And he got out just in time, as beams from the ceiling came down and could have seriously injured him. The 5.0 magnitude earthquake struck eastern Turkey. The country is prone to earthquakes because of its situation on the cross-section of major fault lines. CCTV video from around the region shows just how the quake rattled the area. It shook products off store shelves and left a mess for employees to clean up. It's not the worst the country has seen, but was enough to jolt people, since quakes in years past have caused thousands of casualties. This time, there were no immediate reports of deaths.
A plane lands on the interstate, then clips a car from behind. We now have video of it happening and know more about why. Here's a plane as it glides onto the interstate. It happened on 35W near 694 around 9:15 last night. Miraculously, no one was hurt. Susan Elizabeth Littlefield has new information on how it happened.
For a moment, it looked like a runway, but this is a highway. The highway Janelle Harwell was driving on.
As I got closer and closer, I realized that it was an airplane that actually crashed into a vehicle, and I slammed on my brakes with both feet and stopped in time, thank God.
This is the scene she nearly slammed into. A plane landed on 35W, clipping an SUV from behind. She called for help.